So today we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Eden Tang, and Eden is founder of the company called VentureGrab. So Eden, instead of me introducing you, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, as well as your company?
Okay, thank you, Desmond. Hi everyone, my name is Eden. I'm from VentureGrab.com. So what VentureGrab is doing, basically we are actually a business online matching portal. So what we do is we put all the business opportunity online. Okay, so compared to Grab, we are not doing any food delivery, we are not doing any Grab Mart, but we are the business opportunity. So what kind of business opportunity you can find on VentureGrab is basically when you're looking for any franchise business, licensed business, or even though you want to look for partners, or even though you want to buy and sell a company, this is what you can do in VentureGrab.
So you are basically like a Tinder for aspiring entrepreneurs and business owners. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think that's a really, really good description. Now, I actually do a lot of buy and sell of businesses because I think it's the fastest way to go into an industry, or it's the fastest way to grow. Either to do it to, if you want to acquire, let's say, for example, we do a lot of marketing. If you want to acquire a marketing company, it gives a lot of synergy for that. But, a lot of people today, when it comes to business, right, Eden, I'm sure you met a lot of them. Many of them, especially the young ones, I would say below 30 years old, many of them, the way they think about business is that first thing I got to do is I got to write a fancy business plan. They call it different names, pitch deck, slides, whatever, bunch of them. And then they go to like a bank and then they present the business plan and then they get the money right away. Right? And then they use the money and then they start a business. Does this strategy still works? Like, do you still think that this is the way to do it right now? What's your thought about this?
Not really, not this right. In fact, how I come up with the idea of this VentureGrab is basically start from my own experience. Many years ago when I started business, I realized that when I want to exit a business, there's no way for me to exit. Then after years of business, I realized there's actually another way of starting a business easier, or even though expanding your business easier, which is actually you do the acquisition. Either you do acquisition or you work with other party. So buying a business is one of the way that I will call it as a shortcut. Okay, you will realize actually in the market, right, there's so many different kind of business or so many business owners. Sometimes they want to exit the business for different reasons. For example, they just want to do retirement, partnership problems, dispute is one of the most common reasons that we have ever seen. And then some even that they just don't want to do, they just want to get out of it. So when people want to exit the business, if you can actually take the opportunity to buy a wig, enter into the business, it actually provide you a shortcut. Right. So for this kind of business, right, they are normally two ways. Either you enter at a premium price or you enter at a discounted price. So how to decide whether it's a premium or discounted price is based on how good is the business doing. One of the important elements is actually the business goodwill. For example, if the business is doing good, the accounting, auditor, sales, everything is actually a healthy one, normally you can ask for better price, which is a premium price. How much premium is actually depends on how good is the brand, how good is the sales, how strong is the team, all these factors. But until now, right, what we can see mostly, I would say probably 60 or 70% are having problems, meaning that the sales is not good. When the market is not good, the partners got problem. At this point of time, when they want to exit, normally, most of the time, it will be selling at a discounted price. Because if you're rushing to sell, you hardly get a good price. That's most common reason.
I think it's really important to look at it from the perspective that there are always going to be people that are, especially partnership business. I've noticed that very seldom have I ever met a business where the partners work well together. Very seldom. Like even Wozniak and Steve Jobs, they don't work well together when they're with Apple. So I always believe that, in a business where there are a lot of active or executive partners, it's always going to mess things up and they're always trying to get the other person out. So you can actually buy your way in. And yeah, now that you talk about it, it's because you mentioned something really interesting. You're talking about discounted and premium. You're saying that, hey, premium businesses, you pay a little bit premium because they have fantastic management team, they have fantastic accounts, they have fantastic sales, goodwill, brand, right? But majority of small business don't have any of this. right? So how would you approach, like if I'm getting started, I want to start a business this year, right? I want to go and buy a business. What is the first approach should I do? How do I find a good business for myself?
Okay, from this part of view, right, I will firstly ask you, what do you like, Desmond? When it comes to business, right, what's your strength? What kind of business you like? Whether you are an F&B person or whether you are a fashion guy, anything. So whatever business you do, first thing in mind is you must think for long term. Doing a business is not like you do it for fun. You have to think for long. So first thing is you have to start with something that you like, something that you love, you have passion into it. So once you actually selected that, second thing I'll see that how much you have in your pocket, how much you're willing to invest, how big is the risk that you are able to take. So for some people, they start from 50,000, some people they start from $500,000. It depends on what kind of business skill you're looking at. So number one, interest. Number two is actually the investment amount. Okay, number three is the location. Whatever business, never ever really think of, okay, I just invest the money, I hire some workers, let people run for it. Not really in that way. It doesn't really work. So you have to prepare yourself, at least to me 6 months to 1 year, you have to spend time into the business until that your business really on the track, really well controlled. Then only you can start to let go a little bit and look into any other business if you have. So I will say that these are the key factors for you to choose about the business that you like: location, money, and also what business that you like. So for a young entrepreneur, when you just started, I will also recommend you can actually consider partnership. Okay, like what Desmond mentioned earlier, partnership is kind of you have to manage. Yes, you are right. Yes, I'm thinking of that word. Okay. Myself personally, I have a good experience and bad experience about partnership. I do quarrel with partners before until we end up in court. And then I do have a good partnership more than 10 years until now we stay happy and then having fun together for doing business. So, but all this time, I will actually conclude it is a traditional way of partnership. Because like today, I see Desmond, we talk, hey, we can start with something. Then we start already. So, but at the end, right, during this process, we don't know what is each other's expectation. So there are a lot of uncertainty and a lot of risk inside. So in today's modern business, many people say that you have to share the resources, you have to work together. Okay, I 100% agree with that. But first thing to do is both party partnership, you must sit down together, whatever terms and conditions, whatever ugly things, put it upfront first, put it inside the partnership agreement. For example, how much to get paid, how to work, when to work, what if I don't really want to do, who make the major decision, all these kind of tedious terms and agreement. Put it under the agreement as much as possible, as details as possible. So with this, I wouldn't say that it will stop the partnership dispute, but at least probably 50 or 70% of the chances you can reduce that kind of dispute. So this is one of the factors that anyone, when you want to start a partnership business, you should seriously look into it.
I think clarifying the role is really, really important as well. And when it comes to a partnership, like for me, I always believe that partnership should be done in a way that is executive and non-executive, in a way that one partner should always be executive and the other partner should always be a non-executive. Because if there's two executives, two people going in butting heads, I think nothing gonna get done. And the number one victim is not the new owners. The number one victim is always the management and the employees, because they are the one that are looking at, oh, this new management just come in and all they do want to do is just fight with each other, right? But let's really talk about a good deal. Let's say I have a few mentees of mine, a few people that follow me. They are starting to get into the idea of, hey, it's a good idea to buy a business. And the main reason is because you're buying a business with existing revenue. You're buying a business with everything pretty much set up for you. It's like buying a franchise, except you have control, right? I'm not a big franchise guy. I am against franchise because I believe that franchise, unless you're the franchisor, then if you're on a franchise level, it's very dangerous because there's not much you can do. That's why you see all these bubble tea shops are being closed down right now, because they got no power control. But when it comes to buying a business, what constitutes a good deal to you? Like, for example, a deal that makes sense for you to go in, because we know this, money doesn't matter. If the deal is good, but if the price is high, there are always investors that are willing to pull in cash and make the deal happen, right? So how do you define a good deal for a business?
Okay, that's right. To me, right, a good deal of business, it depends on what the investor want. Okay, like mentioned earlier, business come in two format, whether you're buying at a discounted or a premium. If you are the investor, you don't want any problem. You want things are there, branding are there, support are there. Then you should go for franchise or established business. Normally, these are business you are paid a premium price. But some of the people, for example, like myself, okay, I always want to do something, own something by myself. Like instead of becoming the franchisee, I would prefer to become the franchisor. So I'm that kind of investor. So for that kind of thing, I like to start the things from scratch instead of buying from others. So when you start from that, if you can get something like current market situation, okay, a lot of barbecue closing down. But if this time you can actually go and support and buy whatever out there, probably you can get 10%. You can just use 10% or 20% of getting what they have invested. If such a low investment amount, if you can actually put in something, new business model, new concept into it, you start a business, the chances of getting fast ROI is actually faster than the franchise business. Yep. So it's very much depends on yourself, what kind of deals that you're looking at.
Yeah, but I think with the bubble tea, even at 10%, they're not worth it because I've seen their contracts before. I've actually looked at a bubble tea shop that actually reached out to me. They are a franchisee, not a franchisor. Man, everything they have to buy from the franchisor, everything, including the ingredients, the microwave, the bowls, the straws, it's insane. Like when you're locked down like that, there's really not a lot you can do. And then you can't even do marketing. Like that's a crazy thing. You cannot do marketing unless you hire the franchisor's marketing firm. Like for me, that's like the closest thing to a business jail, right? And that's why all of these are closing down. Like literally some of them are asking me, Desmond, would you take over for like 10% of what we put into the company? I say I wouldn't even put in 1%. The reason is because the contract already defeat your business before you start. The thing is, I think there's so many people today, they are looking at what sounds good, what looks good, and that's why they go into those businesses. And like for me, I think you know me, I'm if there's one business religion that I have is I don't touch F&B. Like every business I touch, I've been able to grow them except F&B. I feel like F&B is very, very difficult. For those of you watching, F&B simply means food and beverage business. Basically retail restaurants, retail cafes. I love dining in. I love being a customer. I just absolutely hate starting one because I saw how dangerous it is. Like in New York, which is my second home, what's going on in New York is really interesting, Eden, because new entrepreneurs are no longer opening restaurants. What they're doing is a concept called cloud kitchen. Very interesting. Yeah. So essentially they have like a warehouse and then they will hire they will have like 50 kitchens inside the warehouse. They'll have one kitchen that they will rent out. And then what will happen is that they purely do delivery. Like in Malaysia, we have Kiochon fried chicken. I'm not sure if you know that brand. Yeah. They do chicken wings and they're doing, part of their business is purely delivery and they're absolutely crushing it right now with the delivery side. So I think F&B business is too traditional. They needed to be modernized in a much better way. So which I want to ask you this, listen, you know, a lot of people want to buy business, but they're very scared because they always think that, hey, buying business, right, is what a private equity company would do, right? What a huge, like KKR, Blackstone, BlackRock, Equinas in Malaysia, Petronas, these are the company that buy company. Why would a small bird or a small fish, like an average person, go buy a company, right? And they're not sure how to do it. They're afraid that it's going to be expensive. They're afraid that, you know, they have to spend a lot of money on due diligence. So would you mind actually sharing the steps on how they could actually do it? Like, what is the first step? Of course, one thing is obviously go and source a company, right? But how can they do it?
Okay, I will put it this way. Firstly, when you buy a company, right, depends on what kind of company you're looking at. I will still start from the amount. If you're looking at the investment, say about below 200,000 to 300,000, the basic thing you need to do is, okay, due deal is important. You have to get a lawyer to do a basic due deal for you. But whereas in VentureGrab, you can just let us know. You can anytime engage a lawyer to do this for you. Because, okay, Desmond, I should go backward a little bit. When buying a business, you have to decide whether you are actually buying over the business or you are buying over the asset only. Okay, this is basically two different concepts. Let me explain further on this. When buying over a business, means that you're buying over the Sendirian Berhad, for example. So when you are buying over the Sendirian Berhad, means that you're actually taking over all the assets and the liabilities. Okay, so this one could be dangerous. So if the company got any bad debts or any hidden problem, dispute, legal case where you don't see, you might probably get into it without yourself knowing it. Okay.
Okay, that's
So
basically a stock purchase, right? And Sundara Berhad, basically, for those of you who are listening, it's LLC in America, and in Singapore, it's private limited. In UK, it's limited. Basically, a limited liability company.
Correct. So when you're buying the Sundara Berhad, you need to know all this. But what are the advantages? Why people is actually buying over a company? Sometimes when a company run for at least 3 years and above, it might get some good view. So for example, if you have a track record for you to actually get a loan from the bank, and then you have a better credibility with the supplier, with the vendor, all these things, these are the advantage that you can get. So buying asset, the other method is actually buying the asset. For example, you have an F&B restaurant. I'm actually interested about your branding, about your asset, but I don't want your Sundara Berhad. It's very simple and straightforward. Just a S&P agreement. We take over all the asset and also the branding, then you can start a business. So for the company itself, you go and register a new company by your own. So basically, you can make sure the company is clean and clear, and then you just start the business from there. But normally, when buying an asset, you might have some other documentation to do. For example, you might probably need to sign a new tenancy agreement with the landlord. Okay, but you don't need to do duty. So, but no matter what kind of business you are dealing with, what kind of method you use, when it comes to VentureGrab, we got different professionals to help you on that.
I think the main challenge for an asset purchase has always been, like, I've done a few deals that is asset purchase, and it's a lot slower than stock purchase from my side, mainly because the businesses that we have, they had licenses and permits that were tied to the main limited liability company or the private limited company. And when we open up a new SPV to actually go acquire the business, the new SPV or the new special purpose vehicle, which is another company, right? We had to go reapply for all the permits and license, and we had to wait another 3 to 4 months before we can be operational again. So it really depends on every deal. I think a lawyer would be a best person to advise whether to do a stock purchase or an asset purchase. So you're saying that if I do a stock purchase, it's better to do due diligence on a legal side. And if it's asset purchase, it's we can actually look a little bit more relaxed on that side. We can actually see, I guess I call it shallow DD. Shallow DD as in you look at the documents yourself. You don't really need a lawyer to look at it. I mean, tenancy agreement, everyone can pretty much read it, things like that, simple things. So what's next step?
Yes.
Okay, you have decided that you want to do an asset purchase or a stock purchase. What's next for you? Like, do you go and talk to the owner, or how does it work? What's the process?
Okay, after you actually enter into the business, the next thing to do, you have to understand what are the risks or what are the cost factors that you have. So from the upward, you should talk to the landlord. Okay, know your tenancy. Like now, whatever that I'm actually sharing is actually based on current MCO period, which myself is actually looking into a business. First, you have to understand your next 6 month to 1 year risk. Okay, especially in the fixed cost. Okay, thereafter your supplier, your vendor, and also your business model. So how do you make money? So when you decide on the business model, I will say that you have to, you need to have the funding for at least 6 months and above for the time being. I remember last time, I think about 10 years ago, when I actually started F&B business, I never ever think for that far, because I know that once the business started already, we actually assume that the cash will come in. And then we never ever prepare for 3 months reserve fund or other things.
I want to hear that story. Because I think it's a lot more relevant.
So this is actually not a healthy one, because that time when I started business still, we didn't think for that far. We just hunt up and open a business on it. But to be a more mature business owner, you should actually do that. What if the business didn't do well as what you're expecting?
Right.
But honestly, based on my thinking, if a business didn't grow well in 6 months, right, I think if you ask about my recommendation, is whether you should actually continue or you should close it down. I will say that you should jump out of the box, think of other business that what you can do or what you can upgrade from this business which is not doing good now. Because sometimes it's a conflict. People say that you have to be here for long enough and then keep for years until the business is growing. Nowadays, right, not really in that way, I would say. Nowadays, right, too many of new business concepts coming out. So whatever business that you do, if you cannot do well within 6 months, to me, I would say the risk is getting higher and higher. not
Yeah.
reducing.
Right.
So I think that's different from last time when we actually do any F&B business.
Yeah, so F&B, like for me, is really tough, man. I love going to F&B as I mentioned, as a customer, but I've looked at the numbers before. The margins are very small, and if you're very dependent on like I mean, not all F&B, but if you're very dependent on like a cook or a chef, and if that person is sick, your quality goes down, and it's just there's too much factor. And you know what's really upsetting right now because of the lockdown that we have right now? So many of these food and beverage businesses that I love, like I absolutely love their food, and I go very frequently. Now they are closed. They are not opening up again, even though like the government just announced that, hey, you know, you can open, you can maybe have a little bit of dining, but not too many people in there. But some of them just don't even open anymore, right? And the renovations that they've put in, the money they're putting must be in the 6 figures to 7 figures region, which is so upsetting because you see all this, you know, this passion and this effort just disappear. So, you know, what advice would you give to people that want to start business, right? Would you tell them that, hey, let's start a bubble tea business? Because I don't think that's what you want them to do, right? What do you tell them to do right now if people want to start a business and they're thinking, shall I open a restaurant? Like for me, I tell them, don't do it. Don't do it. But what would you tell them?
Honestly, at this point of time, I'm actually looking. What am I looking? I'm looking for, is there any good business opportunity? For example, if people spend $500,000 to do the renovation, for example, bubble tea, I think easily they spend $500,000.
Right.
If you want to actually take over some, you can do that, but not taking over the brand. Okay, because you know that if the brand is not doing good, there's nothing much that you can do now. Especially you are actually under MCO, especially you've got so much of restriction from the franchisor. But what I would suggest the other way is, do you have any other new products and services which you think that you can use the current renovation or current equipment, upgrade it, modify it, turn it into a new business model, and then launch it when the MCO is over? Right. So, okay, so Desmond, just now you mentioned 10%. For example, invested $500,000 previously. Now, if they are able to actually take away with only 50,000, assuming that you spend another 50,000 to change the signage or whatever, to do the minor upgrade, probably you spend 100,000, you can start a brand new business. So with that kind of things, you can actually earn back the money, build up a business much faster and easier. That's what I mean for taking over a business or start a business at this point of time. Maybe not now immediately, but you should plan for 2-3 months from now.
Right. Yeah, there is one company that I'm investing in. What they're doing is that they make cosmetic products. They are a manufacturing plant. And the company not doing so well, so we're investing in. But we're not investing in because we wanted to go in the cosmetic industry, which is one of the hardest industry to get into, because you're competing with companies like Sephora and a lot more micro brands. But the amazing thing that they have on their company, in the company, is that they have a lot of equipment, they have a lot of machinery, and they have great chemists. So we've been able to come up with a recipe to actually turn a lot of the chemist formula into making cleaning products. Because right now, obviously, cleaning is a huge thing right now with the lockdown, with the virus. Everyone is like, oh, hey, you know, I got to clean all the time, right? People are cleaning more than ever, especially with businesses and retail businesses. So that's the angle that we're going in. So I think, is that what you're talking about? Like you're taking over a company that's doing something that is failing, but then you know that the machinery, the equipment can be pivoted to do something else. That's what you're talking about, right?
Correct.
So that's the opportunity that most people don't look at, because they just look at the business, oh, they sell bubble tea, hence they only can do bubble tea. Not necessarily, right? I mean, they can be doing other things. They could be perhaps using the machinery to, you know, make another form of products. So I think that's something that most people just aren't creative enough. They are not innovative enough. Would you say so?
Yes, you are right, Desmond. You are right. Have to make use of existing what they're having now. Input with a new innovation, new ideas to actually rebrand it or give it another business model that can actually survive.
Right. So, and I also want to know this, like in terms of what kind of buyers do you usually deal with? Like, for example, like on my side, on my M&A side, a lot of the time when the investors that I get together with, the people that are buying businesses, what we're really looking at is that we want to be, I guess you can say, a passive investor. We want to just buy the business, take over the business, and then elect a CEO or hire someone that we know that is very talented to run the business. We are not people that go into the business and run the business ourselves, right? Are those common in Malaysia, or are you looking more towards people that, for example, they want to open a bubble tea shop, hence they buy a bubble tea shop? Which one do you deal with more, and what are the differences that you find, and what are your experience with both type of investors or buyers?
Okay, that's not. I would say both type of investor, both type also existed in the market. Okay,
right.
Some senior investor, what they are buying is actually they want a big scale. So when they buy the business, they have the experience, they know how to choose the people to run the business, they have the network, they have the people. So they will buy and then let his own team then run the business. But whereas another group of investors are normally younger, where they like a bubble tea or they like the F&B, and then they think themselves or their friends can do it, then they will actually end it by themselves. So I would say that both type of investors also there in the market. Like now, those we are dealing with, I would say half 50-50.
50-50.
Okay. Yes.
So which leads me to, I want to ask you this, because compared to other countries like in the US or the UK, in Malaysia, there is a huge percentage of business that are registered under sole proprietorship or partnership, which is enterprise version of business, which for you guys who are listening to, you understand the term, basically in UK, they call it sole trader, right? Which means they have no power of issuance of share. They don't have limited liability, right? Are those business sellable as well? Are those business investable? Like, what's your thought on those business?
Okay, normally those businesses are normally smaller scale. Okay, maybe like what we call is Ramly Burger kind of small scale business. Of course it can. Because those businesses are actually quite straightforward. What you need to do, you don't even have a Sendirian Berhad. What you need to do is actually do a SFP agreement, transfer whatever under his personal name to your personal name or to your company. Simple as that. It is possible, I'll say.
So it's pretty much an asset transfer to, if you look at it.
Correct. Because all these under personal name, right, I don't think they have any goodwill on that. If they are big enough, they will definitely go under Sendirian Berhad.
Right. So which leads me to also want to ask about, like, in this space, I'm sure you have heard of, like, people are scamming and people are using this as an opportunity to get, rob people off like hundreds and thousands, if not millions of dollars. I just want to, like, ask you if you have any experiences dealing with this, or you heard of any news or stories about this, just to share this out to people who want to start buying businesses, but they're very scared. What if I get scammed, right? The business is not what they tell me. What can they do? I think this is something very important. Like, before we look into a business, we want to make sure that this is what they tell us. You get what I'm saying? Instead of, if the business is doing 1 million, they tell us it's doing 1 million, and then we say, and then we go into the business and then it's only doing 100,000. Right. So how do tell us some stories about, situations similar to this, and then maybe how we can avoid getting ourselves into situations like this.
Okay, thank you, Desmond. Okay, when you're buying over any business, just have to talk about due diligence. Look into due diligence for two angles. Number one is actually legal aspect. Okay, the other one is actually the financial due deal. So for financial due deal, you need to get accountant to do it for you. So the accountant will check the auditor report, all these things to make sure all these figures are genuine. But no matter how, seller always want to set a higher side. And then seller will always project a better image for the business. This is what every human being will do the same. So what I will say that before you buy over any businesses, after doing the due deal in legal and in accounting yourself, personally, you must have the preparation on how are you going to grow the business, how you want to grow the business. You must have the capabilities or strength to actually manage and run the business rather than purely rely on what they are doing right now. I will say that is very, very important. Don't just buy a business and then expect the business to run by itself and then can make money for you. But again, many people, when they're actually buying a franchise business, they are hoping that. Okay, so when it comes to that, there's no right or wrong. It only depends on whether you are actually, if you are buying a franchise business, for example, basically it depends on whether are you entering at the right time, whether the business is at a boom or is actually going down, or whether the location is good or not. Bubble tea is one of the most how to say,
Trendy,
it's one of the best trendy example. Many people see it making money already. When they start entering, then you realize the demand actually reduced a lot already.
Yeah. It's crazy, like the bubble tea. I remember was it last year? One of my friends was showing me all the logos for the bubble tea companies from Taiwan and China. All of them are like quite similar. It's some kind of animal, and there's some kind.
Yes.
There's a deer, there's a bear, there's a whale,
Yes.
and then whale there's 2 or 3 types, and then there's
correct.
It's really insane. And then they all look almost the same in terms of the design. And I mean, the colors about the same. And then the flavor is, I wouldn't say that they're too different, but there's some distinction to it, but I wouldn't say that I miss them too much, right? And,
Yes.
some people were saying that the next trend is going to be frozen yogurt, which is really, really popular in America.
Now it appears already.
Yeah,
now
but the lockdown kind of like, stop.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, but
yes.
hot pot too, isn't it? If you think about it, hot pot is one of the trend too, isn't it? Before like all these big brands come in, people are opening a lot of hot pots too. But I wouldn't say it's franchise, but it's more small businesses. But I think that this is more common in F&B where they have like trends. I think like every 3-4 months there's something new coming in, and then everyone just go and open this something new, which is why I think franchise is so. I mean, you really need to look at a contract. I'm not saying franchise is bad. There are some really amazing franchise, like some laundromat, some non-food based franchise. They have been doing really well. But people always think that franchise is just McDonald's, KFC, bubble tea, right? And I think franchise people need to look elsewhere, because I've seen people that are doing air conditioning and heating in America that were franchised, and they were doing insanely well. Who would have thought that you can franchise an aircon business, right? And I think people need to be a lot more open-minded about that. So I want to go back to the scam story, because I want you to share some scam stories, because because your story can actually help in preventing people from getting scammed. Because a lot of people that I know, I want to buy business, Desmond, I'm ready to buy business, but my concern is, what if this seller is fake? What if this seller is not what he seems? And there's a lot of people that does this. So do you have any stories to share?
Okay, Desmond, when you're talking about a scam story, are you talking about those like money laundering type, or how? Or
like they're just ripping off buyers, because let's say I come from a perspective that I'm a buyer, but my concern is if I hand over the money, and this person just disappear.
Oh, okay.
The business just closed down or something.
Okay, that's exactly what VentureGrab is doing. So if you happen to actually buy any business, we understand both parties. Honestly, being an online portal, we also don't know whether the seller will run away or not. Honestly, we don't know. Okay, because what if they take the money, they run away, we cannot do anything on that. So what we will normally do, right? So when a business matching deal, if the buyer show intention, okay, I'm actually interested about this one,
right?
Instead of the money paying to the seller directly, we will actually advise the buyer, we put it to us or our lawyer, we hold it as a trustee. Okay, so at least I can let someone know, okay, so see the buyer money is here already. They already show their intention. Okay, they are sincere about the buying over, so we will request the document or whatever from the seller. At this point of time, we will do the due diligence on the seller part. Make sure the company is actually proper. Make sure there's no any track record, no bad record, no legal dispute, no legal case, all these things. So after all these things, okay, then we will proceed for the S&P agreement. So when S&P agreement done, then only they will exchange the document and the money. This is how we can actually protect the buyer from actually getting into all this scam. But when it comes to the one basic rules about scam, right? Not a lot. Some, we can see some of the business when they project you very, very high return, okay? Where you don't need to do anything, guarantee commission or guarantee return, always pay extra attention to all this kind of benefit. Like myself, I do business for so many years, even though VentureGrab is an online matching portal, even though being a startup, we should actually give a lot of confidence to the investor. But I always answer it responsibly. For example, during my teaching session, Desmond, a lot of people ask me, Eden, when do you plan to go listing, public listed IPO?
Right.
I will say 10 years. And then a lot of people say 10 years too slow. 10 years too slow. I'm actually looking at 5 years. Of course, being a founder, being a startup, of course, I wish to see 5 years also. But it's not that easy. We have to think for long. Grab doing for so long already, but people haven't got IPO yet. So I feel that being an entrepreneur, whatever you actually advise or respond, you must be responsible for your answer. For me, you want me to simply answer you 5 years, 3 years, I can do that. But that is not the start of the business that I want. So I believe that a proper entrepreneur, they won't simply answer that kind of question. But if you see anyone when they can actually do a lot of promising, which you think that is over-promised, I will say that pay a little bit more attention to it. Because at the end, the owner, the partner is very, very important, their own characteristic.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this is really important now that you talk about IPO. A lot of entrepreneurs, they want to go IPO, they want to go public listing. And I actually don't think all businesses should consider even going public listing unless they need it. Most businesses are not at that size anyway. And I think it takes focus away from them running the business, from them actually growing the business. Many businesses I see, they're so busy doing acquisition for listing purpose. They're trying to like merge together into a group, and so that they have a huge revenue that they can go on listing in Europe or in other countries. I think it sometimes defeats the purpose of the business itself. I've seen so many groups fail because of this, because they forgot that, hey, we have to actually be profitable. We have to actually go and make some profit so that our shareholders are sold on the share when we list it later on. I think that is so important. Now, I also want to talk about buying a business, the mechanics of it, because I've done different ways of buying a business before, and Malaysia is a unique country. I'm going to talk about this. Because I've done buying and selling business in America, in the US, where you can do something called acquisition financing. You can actually go to the bank, say, I want to buy this business, finance this deal. Bank will look at the financial statement. Look, Malaysia does have that?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about that, because I would like to know more about that. And then I want to also talk about buying a company with shares. So let's talk about that first.
Okay, for the bank-wise, for the share acquisition, we don't have, we're about to have that. In fact, later on, 5 o'clock, I'm going to have a meeting with the bank on this one. Give us a bit more time. Once you have this, we'll share it with everyone.
That's great. Yeah, it's just that a lot of banks that we work with, many of them, they don't finance small deals, like small companies. They consider anything below 10 million is too small, too risky for banks. So if you have a deal that is worth 10 million, you can actually go finance with the bank. You can make sense to them. They can actually plan out something for you. But in America, they have this thing called the Small Business Administration, the SBA program. They are very open to actually loaning out money for younger people to take over, especially baby boomers business. Because in America right now, a lot more people are retiring, but they have all these blue collar business like the landscaping business, aircon business, electrical engineering business that no young person wants to run. Every young person right now, they want some marijuana, Bitcoin app that, make money fast and go IPO in 2 years, right? So the SBA program is trying to entice more younger people to actually run businesses that are in the blue collar sector. And that's why they're preparing loans like this. So I want to talk about financing, which is really important. Most people say, oh, Desmond, it's easy for you to say it because you can just put out $500,000 and buy a business. But what if they don't have $500,000, but they have this intention to buy the business? What can they do?
Okay. If you don't have the money, either you have a very, very good track record, which I doubt so. Okay, I think at this point of time, you start from slow. Okay, maybe this one I start from myself. Okay, myself, I don't born in a rich family. So when I actually started business, I got no money on. Okay, so how I get my first capital is actually through my 10 years of working, saving bit by bit. Then once I have the money. But when I first having the money, it's actually insufficient for me to start a business by itself. Okay, so how I actually started it, I partnered with someone. Okay, when you partner with someone, then you can put the money together. This is what we call partnership. So I believe among your friends, you should have people that can work together. But remember, partnership agreement is a must, no matter how close is yourself and your friends. We see many cases with friends after they become partner, they're actually no friends already. So besides getting your friends, what we actually do in VentureGrab also, we are actually putting different partnerships together. For example, Desmond, yourself, and another one, maybe you don't know each other, but both of you are actually interested in a similar business. What we can do, we put all these people together. Okay, same thing, partnership agreement, anything that you like, you don't like, what you want, what your expectation. We talk it first, and then we put them together. This is how you can actually start a business into. So for those people who don't have the money, one of the method, you become partners with others. The other method is actually you can get crowdfunding. Nowadays, it's actually crowdfunding is actually one of the method. You go pitching, share your ideas on the stage. Okay, go and actually compete with other people. If you actually win in the competition, you might be able to get some funding for your startup, for your business, or you may get a crowdfunding also. But again, when it comes to crowdfunding, normally the investor will look at track record also. If you don't have any track record, you have only the business model. It is possible, but it will be quite challenging.
It's rarely happen. Business plan is no longer enough, right? People want to look at your history, and that's why when we look at buying companies too, what we want to see is also we want to see the company cash flow, like your last 3 years cash flow, is it trending upwards or trending downwards? Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of people that are going pitching with ideas, and I think ideas is no longer sufficient. You need financial track record, you need history, just like you said. If you have no history, you just say, I have a great idea, pay me money so that I can run this idea. No. No, it's too risky. I mean, you have a better chance maybe going and gambling in a casino, because really, in fact, I was reading this news. They were saying that venture capitalists, they will only have a 1 to 10 shot of actually making their money back, which means 10 companies that invest in, only one will make their money back. So which is crazy if you look at how small the odds are, because I think they were saying that the odds of playing blackjack in a casino is higher, which is incredible. Like if you think about it, right? So you're telling investor, hey, gamble on me, like literally, right? That's why I was telling a lot of people, like if you are starting a business, or if you want to go and buy a business and you want to finance the deal, show some sort of track record. It's very, very important. Like find out what you can do to actually convince the investor, because really you're selling the investor why the risk is low and the profit is high, right? And I think it's so incredible. Now, have you done any sort of financing with shares before, like shares swap?
No, not at this point of time.
Right.
At this point of time, ours one still quite a lot of direct purchase, not share swaps.
Okay, so yeah, we deal a lot with a lot of different types of structures, like how private equity does it, to reduce the risk on the buyer side and increase the potential for the seller side as well. So I think that the mergers and acquisition side in Malaysia is gonna get very, very heated up this year. I've already seen, like on your website, there's a lot more listings than usual. Yes. And in Facebook groups, on Facebook, people are sharing, hey, I have a business for sale. Like I've got a deal that was trying to close for 2 years. This guy just never talked to me because that's how profitable they are. They were like, why would I want to sell? We're so profitable. Like my son is going to take over this. And over the last few days, this guy has been calling me, hey, Desmond, you're still thinking about buying our business?
Oh, really?
It's crazy because the whole tide has changed. The whole entire tide has changed. And everyone is like really looking at how can I sell my business with so much uncertainty going on. And I think even right now, a lot of sellers need to be a lot more lenient in their what they are looking for as well, because there's so much uncertainty even for their own business. So it's so important that there's a company like VentureGrab that is doing all the arbitrary work, which is to talk to the seller in a sensible way, and also talking to the buyer in a sensible way, so we can create a win-win-win situation. Because I've dealt with a lot of like sellers directly, and a lot of them just don't understand, and they just randomly come up with valuations of their company. Hey, my company is worth 10 million. I'll ask them, how do you come up with 10 million? Oh, we have 10 directors and everyone wants $1 million each. So
yeah, true. We see that a lot. We see that a lot.
Right? And they're not realistic at all, because sometimes their valuation is even higher valuation than an IPO valuation, like a public listed company. I'm like, oh my God, your multiple, where did you come up from? Oh, according to my accountant who has no experience in mergers and acquisition, has no experience in buying and selling company, he just told me that my company is worth 20 million, even though we lost 200,000 last year. And I've seen that so much. And I think it's very important for a company like yours to actually go out there and actually do some educational content, and to be the person that actually tell the seller, listen, your pricing is really bad, and whatever you have done is really bad. I can help you fix it so it looks more appealing to an investor, to a buyer, right? Because people always think that the middleman part is not so important. But I think it's really important because a lot of sellers in Malaysia are not sophisticated enough yet because they don't really understand what it means to buy and sell companies. They don't. Eden, I don't know if you ever dealt with this. Some of them don't even know what an LOI is. Some of them don't even know what a share purchase agreement is.
True. Yeah, there are a lot. We see many cases also. Some people when they want to sell their business, they just simply ask for the price, and then we will ask, how do you actually count the valuation? They don't bother about the valuation. They'll just say, this is what I invested earlier on. Now I want to take back this amount of money. They never talk about depreciation. They never talk about the market situation. So they just want to get back the price. So normally in that kind of scenario, we'll say that, okay, buyer are smart also. So at the end, you can offer what you want to offer, but seller will justify also. So if you cannot justify your asking price, we will see that it's actually quite difficult. So what you can do is probably either you wait longer, okay, for the right people, or you do more things to actually increase the value, increase the intangible value of your company. That's only what they can do. Yeah.
How do you usually value a company, like from your side? I'm not asking from the seller side. Like from my side, my company, what we do is that we always value based on their earnings, which is EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization. We don't value at net profit because obviously taxes and everything do skew the numbers. So we always value at multiples of EBITDA. How do you guys value it, and how do you present that to the seller as well? Because I think they're gonna be pissed off looking at a smaller valuation compared to what they had in mind, which is like 20x their revenue or something like that.
Desmond, I think basically the valuation method is actually more or less about the same. More or less about the same. All this method, we have to justify to the buyer. And then another method is actually looking at the value of the asset. Asset itself, when the business is not doing so great at the time, is asset. So the method is actually pretty more or less about similar, but seller don't know how to present. Even though like ourselves, we will actually get professional, like people like accountant to do it properly also.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Because initially when I started doing this in Malaysia, one of the tough things was that seller was just telling me so many different weird ways of them valuing their companies.
Correct.
We literally had to go to one of the big four accounting firms and talk to everyone of them. Hey, how do you value companies? How do you value companies? How do you value companies? And they always value small companies at a certain price point, at a certain market condition. Like right now, obviously the valuation has dropped a lot because of the lockdown, and earnings has dropped. And a lot more companies, a lot more buyers are actually taking out earnouts, are actually doing earnouts with the seller as well because of the conditions that they're in right now. But I think there's a lot to learn about this buying and selling businesses. And I think every day, every week, there's something new happening. It's so exciting. Like I feel like it's really, really amazing part of the world, part of the career that we're in. Like if people that are listening to this, they want to buy and sell business, they want to learn more about VentureGrab, they want to get started, what is the best way for them to get started with you? Is there any website that they can go to or social media?
Yeah, of course. Okay, you can come to our website, www.venturegrab.com, or you can actually search for us in Facebook, VentureGrab also, venturegrab.com, or alternatively, you can actually log in YouTube. You can find us on YouTube also VentureGrab.
Fantastic. Eden, I appreciate your time sharing so much insights and details, as well as your thoughts about this industry. Thank you so much for being here. I hope everyone who's listening to this, you guys are able to take notes. This is a very important part of the business that we're in this year. This is the best time to get involved in buying business. If you're thinking about buying business, if this is the best time to think about how you can grow your business through acquisitions as well. Eden, thank you so much. I appreciate your time here.
Thank you, Desmond. Thanks, Desmond. See you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.